I want to start with you. Were you yourself aware of these tours through the Capitol that were taking place? Did you know about them yourself beforehand or even afterwards?
No, I did not know about them. Have heard through reporting that that might have taken place. And I'm waiting anxiously to hear the investigations, other information that comes out about that, as well as other activities that members of Congress may have been engaged in to support this attempted coup on our government.
Yeah. I want to play for you a couple of House members who are talking about the threats that they're facing for not playing along with what these seditionists wanted. So take a listen. This is cut 2 from my producers.
I have colleagues who are now traveling with armed escorts out of the fear for their safety. Many of us are altering our routines, working to get body armor, which is a reimbursable purchase that we can make. It's sad that we have to get to that point, but our expectation is that someone may try to kill us.
That was taped to my office door just a few minutes ago. And it's in reference to me not supporting the objection to the articles of impeachment.
Congresswoman, do you feel safe around all of these members, including nearly a dozen QAnon believers who are in the Republican caucus? Do you feel safe around them?
Well, listen, being in Black in America doesn't always make you feel safe. But I feel that more than not, I have a duty to do what I'm doing right now. And I know that there are amazing, excellent Capitol Police officers who have gone above and beyond, and that was demonstrated by so many of their valiant efforts on that fateful day. And I and my family are doing what's necessary, even outside of them, to ensure my and the safety of my family. Many people forget that we are not just members of Congress. We have husbands and wives and children, and are in many cases really trying to do the best for our constituents and for the American people.
David, let me bring you in here, because you have Senator Lindsey Graham, who I thought the message that he had coming out of this, after having said, I've had enough, and then I guess changed his mind and got back on the Trump train. This is what he said about the impeachment from his point of view. Take a listen.
The President of the United States was impeached today without one witness being called, without a lawyer present, and it's an assault on the presidency itself. These actions, if they continue, will incite more violence.
Now, on the one hand, you could say that if you look at the polls, most Republicans, 6 in 10, still, completely support Donald Trump, think he bears zero blame for what happened. You can look across the country and see that local Republicans are still all on board. Very few have jumped off the Trump train. They're still very much in his camp. So you could say that's a purely political statement about reality. But it also sounds like a threat. And I wonder what you make of a senator, the senior senator from South Carolina, making that kind of a statement when we're going to have a trial going on of Donald Trump in the Senate that does pose a physical risk to even some Republicans who are taking part.
One of the reasons this impeachment process is so very, very useful right now is once Donald Trump has been impeached by the House, it puts a collar around his neck in the Senate. Mitch McConnell can effectively say to the president, look, if you behave yourself, if there are no further attempts at coup d'etat, if there are no more corrupt pardons, this process will not complete before the 20th of January. But if you do something else, one more thing, this could be on the floor of the Senate at any time. And Mitch McConnell does have the necessary 17 votes that would put this over the top and remove Donald Trump from office even before. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But I think that McConnell is engaged in regulating the president's activity. So the kind of meeting that apparently happened at the Oval Office today, where the president was talking about a military coup with the MyPillow guy, not the person you want to take advice from on how to make a military coup. But that kind of crazy stuff, there is a choke on him because, again, tomorrow, if the Senate voted, the president could be out of a job in an hour.
And without a pension. I mean, the fact, though, that you have Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, Michael Flynn, two of the three of them already pardoned, who seem to have been at least a part of this in some way in advance. You set that aside, meaning that these constituencies on the far right are still there and still dangerous. These are some of the people who called for sedition. That you've got people like Franklin Graham, who leads white evangelicals in many ways, calling these Republicans akin to Judas Iscariot. It feels to me like people in the Trump base want more violence, or at least they're not acting like they don't. So I wonder if you think that this impeachment trial becomes a new sort of potential focal point that does risk another conflagration, because that's what they want.
May I say something, Joy?
David first, and then the Congresswoman.
Sure.
I think many people in the conservative world and the money-raising conservative world have lost sight of the idea that words mean anything. The words do not mean anything to them. They speak with incredible verbal violence, and this has been going on since at least the election of Barack Obama. And one of the shocks that the people who send out all of these emails and make these appearances on cable TV have discovered is, wait a minute, I never took any of this seriously, and there are people out there who are listening. So that's one of the reasons that this situation is so tense and fraught, why the bridges are closed between Washington, D.C. and Virginia for the 24 hours of the impeachment, is because people who only wanted to make a dishonest dollar or maybe get some TV time have stirred up something they themselves don't understand.
Yeah, and cannot control. And I will give you the last word on this, Congresswoman. Please, the last word goes to you.
Thank you. I mean, I just wanted to say that what we're hearing and what has happened, President Trump has been engaged in a prolonged effort over many years and culminating in what we saw on January 6th. But that prolonged effort was based on lies, was based on falsehoods. So many people have bought into those things. And so to not lie at this point is difficult for many people. And they need to hold on to these claims, need to hold on to these lies. But the importance that we have in the impeachment is to expose them. We cannot be unified, and there cannot be reconciliation until justice and truth is exposed.
Indeed. I think you're going to get a lot of amens from people who are listening this evening. Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, David Frum, thank you both very much. Be safe. And up next, Trump is doing everything he can to take full advantage of his final days with the power of the White House behind him, including throwing himself